Let's talk about the film that got it all started, Captain America, the First Avenger. Captain America, the First Avenger, directed by Joe Johnston, is just really a middle-of-the-pack origin story. Even though his storytelling skills as a whole aren't the sharpest, with some unsolved plots being moved around and botched together, the acting and Cap's origin story carried most of the load, with the complement of some of Johnston's directing style to an extent. He used a lot of specific framing techniques with a few certain sized lenses to really capture that 1940s feel, but other than that, Johnston struggled to find the steady tempo, leading the film to be fairly dry and not having much of a personality. Captain America the First Avenger had a few moments that were decent fun, but was all overtaken by the cheesiness and oversaturated comic book feel, although Johnston and the crew did their best to stay faithful as they could to the comics. The characters of the film were the driving force for me, especially Chris Evans as Captain America, who absolutely smashed it. He put on a fantastic performance as both Captain America and Steve Rogers, bringing great wit to his character while really embracing the genuine patriotism the character embodies.
I can do this all day.
Steve Rogers isn't one of those people that are full of energy, but with his mellow tone, mixed with his leadership skills, troublesome background, and flat-out likability, he's an easy character to get invested in. Haley Atwell puts on a fine performance as well as Peggy Carter, but she didn't really have much to do, other than being the inevitable love interest. The biggest issue I have with her character isn't Atwell's fault. It's the way Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely wrote her character. As important as they wanted to make her, her character development was quite bare, being nothing more than a love interest. For my money, the biggest upset of the film was Red Skull, and it isn't even Weaving's fault either, because once again, Marcus and McFeely completely underdeveloped his character, giving him a basic motive and nothing else to do, where he is a top-notch villain in the source material. Weaving does his best with the material he's given, being the fine actor that he is, but my god, give this man something to work with, please. Two other upsets of the film are Tommy Lee and Sebastian Stan. Tommy Lee Jones just sleepwalks through his performance, bringing little to no weight to the overall narrative and his character. And Sebastian Stan, same case. He brings even less to the table than Tommy Lee Jones, only being added for the future presence to the series to come. The screenplay had its moments, being informative and took its chances on the humor, and for my money, it paid off being unintentionally funny as well. But most of our characters are underwritten, and some pieces of dialogue came off a bit boring, so the script overall is a bit of a mixed bag.
Write that down.
This is like salt on an open wound to say, but the action was unfortunately underwhelming. With the setting being set during the World War, you would expect a lot of high-octane action, but received a minimal amount of cheesy, comic book-heavy action scenes with a single action montage you can catch in the trailer. With the way the story was structured, they should have trimmed off some of the fat and added one more concrete action scene, so it at least cuts out some unnecessary stuff and gives us some fun. The final battle between Cap and Red Skull was just piss poor. With the abilities between the both of them, you would expect something great, but the sequence was so short-lived and a real letdown considering everyone looks forward to this moment in every superhero film. The one application I feel the comic book feel really worked was the production design. The creative team utilized a great amount of genuine set pieces to really create nice looking sets, coupled with well created costumes as well. Like the screenplay, I feel the visual effects is kind of a mixed bag as well. For the time, things flowed okay, especially with the superhero films that came out years after, Wonder Woman, but it's hard to give Chris Evans' de-aging CGI a pass because it was super distracting. Overall, I do not hate this film, where it's definitely not the worst of an origin story that we've ever gotten in a superhero film. But on the rewatch, you can see how silly it can be, and how it seems to more so act as a setup film for the saga to come. It's certainly not the MCU's best, but it's definitely not their worst either. 5 out of 10.